Well, hello everybody. I just wanted to get this started early. This is my first YouTube live, and so I want to make sure that everything is working all right. I see we got some people here right now, 8 people. Can you confirm in the comments that you can hear me? That would be awesome. See Anthony there. Hey, Anthony. Matt, you wish 212. I got your question in the queue. Rohan, Yash, thanks for being here. Can you guys hear me? Okay, awesome. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate that. Welcome to today's YouTube Live. I do want to mention I have a Batman symbol up here, and somebody had mentioned that that might be insensitive given the whole coronavirus was caused by a bat. There's no intention. This has always been here. I'm a Batman fan, so that's why that's on the wall. Um, and the main reason is there's this idea of hope, right? That there's someone out there that cares, that wants to help those that are in need and can't help themselves. So that's more of a deep thing. But anyways, we'll get into kind of these reader questions here in 1 minute. Also, if you do have any questions, feel free to do them on the comments as well. I will try to get to those. I've got quite a few in the email. But I'm excited to do this because I realize that a lot of people have similar questions, and I would love to help as best I can. So let me pull those up and we'll get started here in less than a minute. All right. All right. Hey, Josh, let's get started. So the first question is from Christina. She's actually emailed me a few times. She's got a lot going on right now. And I'm going to kind of pick some pieces out because sometimes a lot of people have streams of thoughts and what's going on, and that's okay. But one of the things that she talked about is she has a Verizon bill from cell phones that she had purchased, and wondering, hey, if she could pay those off. She's got it's $618 that she owes. Does that make sense? Is that a good idea? And so the reality is right now, the goal is to save at least $1,000 cash, right? So that's the first goal. So if you don't have that, Christina, I would put the money from your refund into a bank account that's not at risk, so that you just have $1,000 sitting there for emergencies. If you have that $1,000, then what I would do is I would use the debt snowball that's been made famous by Dave Ramsey, to list your debts smallest to largest and pay off the smallest debt first. So if that is your Verizon bill of $618, which I would consider debt because it's money that you owe, I would pay that off. So that's the first part of her question is, hey, should she pay off that Verizon bill? So if you have $1,000 in the bank and that's the smallest debt, yes, you should do that. If not, otherwise, stack up that $1,000 first before attacking any of your debts. And then there was another question that she had about credit card use. So for people that have an issue with credit cards, and my wife and I had an issue with credit cards, we found that it was very important to cut up those credit cards and not use them. Doesn't mean that we actually close those accounts. It means that we just were not going to use them on a regular basis. And the reason why that was important was we had this behavior that was locked in, which was if we had an emergency, we're going to use a credit card. And we needed to stop that behavior, right? And so cutting them up was the way to do that. So her concern was, how do we make reservations for anything, right? If you have to have a credit card for that. We actually used our debit card for things like rental cars and hotels and things like that. They work just like a credit card if you're swiping them or giving them the number. As long as you're not using your PIN, it should be protected by the same type of credit card protections. If you're using your PIN, then it's like cash. And so that's a different scenario. One caveat that you need to know is that a lot of these places will put holds on your debit card. So for instance, I went to rent a car and they put like a $250 hold on my card. So I need to make sure that I had at least that amount of money in my bank account. So that's why it's important to have at least that $1,000, right? So that you can kind of weather the storm. You have the resources for one-off stuff like this. It does seem like it could be confusing, but really, if you're trying to get out of credit card debt, you got to cut them up. You got to learn new behaviors before getting back into it. So I told Christina we did that for about 4 years. And it was great. It helped us kind of train our brains on how to use credit cards, or not credit cards, how to use money wisely. And we eventually did re-enter credit cards back into the way that we live. However, we pay them off every month in full. Never paid an interest payment since. But it took kind of building that character, that behavior, to be able to get back to that place. So for this season, Christina, I would just say cut up those credit cards. Make sure you have the $1,000 saved in the bank, and make sure that you're using the Debt Snowball once you have that $1,000 saved. So thanks for asking. The second one comes from Hale. And he says, with COVID-19, my wife and I really started curtailing spending, only buying groceries, essentials, and bills, working from home, still being paid. My wife is a restaurant server, but's been furloughed. She's been delivering for Caviar, and I'm a little nervous about this being a bad risk, but they need the cash. This has been a wake-up call for me. I've been going to be saving as much cash as possible for short, medium time frame to be more secure for the long term. And so basically, he says we have good credit. We figure we could use our HELOC. We're both, but if we're both unemployed, how will we pay back that HELOC, right? He just basically said thanks for listening and efforts. So I appreciate that, Hal. He's from Portland, Oregon. So really, I think this is a really good point. Is a lot of people use debt as kind of the backup plan, right? Like the HELOC that Hal's talking about. And that's actually a bad idea, because really what you're going to do is you're going to put yourself into even a worse scenario, because you're using debt to live, and you're going to have to pay that debt back at some point. And then Hal brought up a good point. Well, what if we both get laid off? How are you going to now pay off that increased amount of debt that you have? So really, I think, Hal, what you're doing with Caviar is great. For your wife to be able to say, hey, she can't work at the restaurant because of this current situation, but she can deliver food for Caviar. And there's some risk in that, right? You might be interacting with people. I will say a lot of these restaurants are taking precautions. So I've gone and picked up delivery, and the person at the cash register is using gloves, right? And there's, a distance thing. Like I was at the grocery store the other day, and they have a blue line at the register where it's 6 feet from where people are checking out, right? Like these businesses are doing everything they can to kind of take the necessary precautions so to limit the amount of exposure, right? So while there is risk, there is also a lot of stuff being done to mitigate that risk. So what I would say is, yeah, continue looking for ways to make extra cash. I think your plan to save for the short term is huge, right? So in Hal's situation, if you're debt free, or you paid off, all your consumer debt, you've already got the $1,000, then I would say save up as much money as you can into that emergency fund. Usually the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months. And really in this time frame, if you could do more than that, I would do that, right? I would say 9 months to a year, right? Because who knows what the future holds for this. So yeah, at this point, I would stay away from using the HELOC, and I would just save up as much as cash and use that for your emergencies. So healthcare costs, fixing, appliances, whatever it might be. So thanks for chiming in, Hal. This one's actually not a question, but it's kind of more of a celebration, and I want to share it with you guys. So this one is from Susan, and she's part of the $1,000 savings challenge. So if you haven't joined that yet, go to wellkeptwallet.com. On the homepage, you'll see just a sign up to say, what's your name and email. It's a free challenge. Anyways, so the goal is to help people save $1,000 in a short period of time. So I checked in with her, and she said, reached my goal, had an unexpected windfall at work. The designer who I replaced had worked up a kitchen design project last September. Nothing had happened on the client's end, so my predecessor tossed paperwork in a drawer. She retired and moved, and I took over. I found this potential order along with 2 more. As a long shot, I called the clients to see if they were still interested. They all 3 were, and 1 came in and added to her order. I have just delivered the last order to the job site. Between the 3 orders, I will receive $1,863 in commissions funded. Now working on my 6-month salary fund and have to start on it from those commissions. Completely unexpected, and just proof once that order can be revived. So Susan, that's so encouraging. I think in this time, people are thinking people aren't buying, people aren't doing normal life, and they are, right? You're proof of that. And for you to take the initiative and say, hey, you found these potential customers, this information lying in a drawer, you took action. Like, that's what we need right now, right? Is for people to say, hey, there is hope, there is opportunity out there. You just got to look for it. You got to be ready to do what's necessary to get to your goals, right? Don't let this keep you down, right? Like, let Susan's example be one that encourages you to say, hey, there is opportunity out there. There are people that are still looking for things. I just hired a pest control company today. I was like, I wonder if they're even coming, because of all of this stay at home self isolation stuff. And so they have rules too, right? They're just going to spray the outside perimeter. They're not going to come in the house. I'm like, that's great. At least we get something done, right? So there is still commerce being done. There are still people making a living. There are still opportunities out there. So hopefully that encourages you. So now I'm going to transition to real-time questions. These are people from my email list that just kind of chimed in. This is Matt, and Matt's question is, what is the most important thing to remember financially during these hard times? So one of the things is just remembering that hard times are cyclical a lot of times, right? So meaning that we had the 9/11 crisis and the stock market went down and commerce kind of changed, traveling changed, and then things got back up. And then we had the recession in 2008, and we had real estate go down, and we had the stock market go down. And so really realizing that, like, there are better times on the horizon. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that, right? Sometimes we get lost in the despair, but realize that there is hope, right? That's the number one thing. Because if you don't think there's hope, then you're going to go in this downward spiral, which I personally have done, right? Where you're like, oh, life sucks. This is hard. Like, I'm just not motivated, right? Versus if I have hope, I'm going to do this YouTube live right now with you, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to see you guys succeed. I want you to know that you're not alone. And so that's the most important thing for me to remember, and I think for you to remember as well. But I would say, as far as like practically speaking, right, is probably what you're getting at. I would say the most important thing is to make sure to avoid debt and to stack up as much cash as you can. And so really, we just don't know what the future holds. And so having that cash reserves to be able to buy stuff, whether it's your basic essentials, so like your food, your future needs, toilet paper, if it comes in the store ever. I can't find any. I have some left, but who knows how long it will last. There's actually a toilet paper calculator that somebody shared, so you should check that out if you're interested. So you can kind of put how many rolls you have and how many times a day you guys use the restroom, all that kind of stuff, and it'll calculate how much toilet paper will last. But anyways, so the goal is, yeah, stack up as much cash, avoid debt. So that way, when we come out on the other side, you're in a better position. You've got cash to execute, right? Whether it's to invest, to pay off existing debt that you have, or to maybe even just have more peace of mind because you're like, hey, I've got this big buffer between me and debt now because I've been saving up that cash. So Matt, thanks for asking. So, sir, will I still be helped? I don't know what you mean by that, Michael, but yeah, I know we do get a lot of questions and people on our email list from other countries. So trying to figure that out. Some of the stuff that we talk about on Well-Kept Wallet does not really apply to other countries. So really, we're talking about the things that we have here are translated for the United States, USD, so our dollar system. So a lot of the principles be the same. So if you're in a different culture, definitely you got to convert whatever that $1,000 is into your currency. You might not be able to deliver for caviar, but maybe you can figure out how you can deliver stuff for local businesses in your situation. So hope that helps. Okay, yeah, so this one's about freelancing. So I'll kind of paraphrase it, but how can I use my skills and become a freelancer? One of the ways that you could do that is by signing up for one website called Upwork.com or another called Fiverr with 2 R's at the end. Those sites are where you can kind of put your skills on there, what you're able to do, whether it's graphic design, whether it's you want to be a voice actor and do kind of voice recordings for people, or transcribing. Maybe you're just really good at typing. You can really just find work on those 2 sites using your skills to get freelancing opportunities. And that was a question from Malik. Thanks, Malik. Let's see here. All right. Well, this is somebody, it looks like Daniel. He's stuck inside and needs money. So, really, that's where I think a lot of people are, right? Is, you're kind of isolated. You don't have a lot of opportunities outside your home, perhaps. So, working from home is probably the best way to make money. And the best way to do that is going to be what we just talked about with Malik's question, doing something that is more freelancing, using one of those platforms like Upwork. There are some companies that hire from home, like U-Haul. Um, so really, just kind of looking for like who are those companies right now that are hiring for work at home jobs. Also, what are some things that you could do as a freelancer? Hope that helps, Daniel. This one, yeah, that's a funny one. How much money do I make? Well, it changes month to month, so it's kind of hard to answer. But no, we've been blessed. We make a good living, do it online, and so that's why hopefully you're seeing from this video. I'm coming to you from firsthand experience. I used to work a minimum wage job. I used to have a lot of debt. I used to work in the corporate world. Now we're completely debt free. We actually paid off our house. That's thank the Lord. It's so cool. But I work for myself and am able to make a full-time living doing that. So really, I hope that encourages you that you can work from home, you can make a living, you can have peace in your life, pay off your debt, and do things that you enjoy. So I appreciate the question. Let's see here. Anthony, I'm trying my hardest to make $2,000. I spent hours going over the internet, but can't find any way for a 14-year-old to make that much money in a month. Wow, Anthony, 2,000 bucks in a month at 14 would be phenomenal. I got my first job hired at 14, started at 15, and I was making 5.15 an hour. So let's just say, and there's limits in my state to how much you could work. So I could work 20 hours a week. So we're talking about, I could make a max of $100 a week. That's 400 bucks. So I don't know why you need 2,000 if it's for something specific. That's a tough one. I would say really, that would take probably a couple of months. But here's an idea. I'll just throw it out there, especially because, if you're young, designing websites is a way that you could do it. So I used to do sites for 500 or 1,000 bucks and really just watch tutorials online on how to create websites. And then approach businesses and say, hey, I noticed that your website is a little outdated or could be improved. I'm getting started. I'd like to help you make it look better. I'll charge you 500 bucks. You do 4 of those in a month and you've got $2,000. So that's an idea for you. Let me know if you follow through with that, and I appreciate the question. Let's see here. Who else do we have? I think. Okay, so so Christina chimed back in, the one that with the first question. She said my smallest was a little bit on an Amazon credit card, less than 200. I paid that off, and the cell phone debt was my next smallest, 618. I paid it off. I have $1,000 in savings and another $2,500 in checking account. So I treat it as a savings account. I lowered my dish. Okay, so she's going through taking action. So this is awesome. So it's a good example of, okay, so she got the $1,000 savings fund. She's paid off the $200 Amazon card. Then she paid off the 618 in her cell phone stuff. So yeah, and then the next steps is just going through and what's the next debts, right? So going smallest to largest. She wants to know my opinions on insurance on cell phones. I would not take it. So here's the thing is typically they're like warranties, right? And sometimes they pay off and sometimes they don't. Usually I used to work for an electronics company. They're heavy margin, meaning that like they make like 80% on that product, which means that obviously less people are having issues with it than it costs them to repair those issues, because that's why the margin's so high. So really, I don't buy it because I want to keep my expenses low, take care of the electronics. Usually every couple of years I'm trading out phones anyways. So it's like I'm going to get rid of that phone and get a new one. The cool thing is like, let's just say something happened to your phone. You can get a smartphone from Walmart for like 50 bucks. Yeah, it's not the latest and greatest, but it's going to give you everything from like Facebook and browsing the internet and, not FaceTime, probably not FaceTime because they're not iPhones, but you could do Google Hangouts or Skype on it, right? And do video calls. Like there's so much you could do on a $50 smartphone. So I wouldn't get wrapped up in paying insurance plans because you're trying to keep your expenses low. And so I hope that helps, Christina. Let me check in the chat here and see what kind of wow, you guys got a lot of comments here. All right, so Anthony, I got your question covered. So Tony, we had both of our refrigerators go out last weekend. Spent $500 to have someone fix them. People are still spending money. Yes, thank you. Yes, and you can't have your refrigerator go out, right? Like you need, especially because we stocked up on a lot of food. So you definitely need that stuff to last. So people are spending money. Any tips on paying off credit card debt while saving during these hard times? So yeah, really that's the steps again is save up that $1,000. Then once you have it, pay off the credit card debt. Now, I will say, if you think you're going to get laid off, or you think that something major is going to happen, which is really possible right now, a lot of people are getting laid off, then I would just pause. I would just make all the minimum payments on your debt as possible. Stack up as much in your emergency fund as you can. And so, if you have 3 to 6 months of expenses in there, great. I will say that, there's a stimulus package coming out, and there's going to be different impacts for different people at different income levels. So look into that. But it's more of a short-term solution, right? Like it's going to be either a $1,200 check or a $2,400 check and $500 a kid or whatever it ends up being for you. And it's probably not going to get you 100% of the way there, right? So you're going to have to figure out with your savings, with working an extra job to make your goals happen. So thanks, Jeffrey. Aaron, love this message of hope. Me too. Glad you're here. Anthony, you are crushing it, man. I appreciate you being so active here. Jim Wang, when I was 16, I made $5 an hour and I was thrilled. Yes, you and me both. You are a little bit older, so that's probably why you made $5 and I made $5.15. But I definitely appreciate that. Any last minute questions, feel free. I'm going to be here for about 8 more minutes. If you want to chime in on the comments, I'm going to check the emails here a little bit more. All right, here's one. This is from Salahu. I need money to start my business. So I'm just kind of paraphrasing here. How do we do that in this economy? I think that the reality is you have to look for opportunities, right, where people need help. And I think what we don't want to do is we don't want to come off as opportunistic, right? Like that we're trying to take advantage of this opportunity. I mean, right now, what I'm trying to do is literally just help people, because the idea is I know that there's a lot of people out there struggling, and I know that we have resources on our website that are free that could help you, right? And so just try to get that information out to you so that you can achieve your goals and you can weather this storm that we're in right now to start a business. And it's not true. There's a book called $100 Startup by Chris Gabayu. I always mess up Gillibo, I think is how you say his last name. So I would check that book out. It's just story after story of businesses that start with little money, right? So you don't need a lot of money to get started. I started Well Kept Wallet with less than $10 because it was whatever my hosting cost. To buy the website. So it was $10 to buy the website, and then it was $3 a month for hosting for the longest time. So really, you could start businesses for really low capital. So I would just say, hey, look at what you could do. I started an SEO company, so search engine optimization company back in the day. And one of the things that I did was I just figured out, okay, hey, I've got time. I'm learning this thing called SEO. I'm going to figure out how I can get my first client. So I talked to a friend that had a business, and I said, hey, I'll charge you $200 a month to try to get you more traffic to your website. And then I had another friend, and I was like, hey, I'll charge you $300 because you got 2 locations. And so it's just like, as you figure stuff out, like put a price on it, put it out there in the market, see if people are willing to pay for it. And then I get them results. And then I was able to get bigger clients and more clients. And then eventually I sold that business for 6 figures. And so really just kind of looking at like, hey, how can I start something from scratch and grow it from the ground up with no debt. So hope that helps. I'm going to kind of chime back here. Hell. Okay, so Hell, we answered a question for earlier. Where's the best place to park an emergency fund? So I have an online bank called CIT Bank that I put mine in. They pay like 1.75%. I'm not saying they're the best place. That's just where I have mine. There's actually on Wellkept Wallet, we have like the best online banks page that shows, I think, like 10 banks or whatever. But I would say just finding a bank that pays a high yield. I wouldn't tie it up in a CD or anything like that because then you don't have access to it if there is an emergency. So really looking at things like either CIT Bank, I think Ally Bank has one. What was the other one called? US Bank. I think US Bank has one. So they're paying anywhere between like 1% to 1.75% in this low interest market. So Hal, that's where I would go. Tony's correcting me, Gillabo. Thank you. I appreciate that. Rel Simon, just saw your email, Deacon. Reply back. Thanks for gift. Oh, we had a giveaway. So I was giving away, I did this video, if you want to check it out on my YouTube channel, on Dave Ramsey's baby steps. So a lot of the stuff that I teach is based off of that because the guy's just wise, right? And really he calls it common sense, right? So it's not like this patented stuff. It's just like, no, this is stuff that works. So anyways, Rel was one of our winners of a Total Money Makeover book. So we'll ship that out hopefully today, sometime this week, and get that to you. So thanks for applying there. You're welcome, Hal. All right, any other questions? Got about 4 minutes left here before we wrap up. I'm gonna check the emails to see if anybody else chimed in. Laurel, thank you for the Dave Ramsey book. And then who else? John. Awesome. You guys are welcome. Glad that I hope you get a lot of value out of it. I know I did. It helped us pay off our debt. We had 52 grand in consumer debt outside of our mortgage. And we paid that off in only 18 months by using kind of the system that Dave Ramsey created. And so, like I said, a lot of the stuff that I teach will be similar. I definitely have some differing opinions, but for the most part, I think that those books are tremendous value. So I'm going to scroll back through the comments. Jim, if you have any questions, chime in there. I know you are, you're always thinking of stuff. Colin, if you're still here, let me know. Looking through, I really appreciate you guys coming around. I'm going to plan on doing this again soon. So if you do, you can email deacon@wellkeptwallet.com if you have future questions. Again, that's Deacon, DEACON, @wellkeptwallet.com. Colin's here. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm wondering, are casinos closed right now? Colin teaches people how to count cards. I don't know if they're actually still open because of the whole social distancing thing. So how is that impacting your that market? I'd be curious. Yes, it's impacting it. Awesome. I love, you're just like me, like one word answers. Jim's got a question. What have you done for entertainment? Any good frugal ideas? So I've been watching movies. I've heard, I watched The Pharmacist, the TV show The Pharmacist on Netflix. I recommend that. I was shocked at how that all went out. It was basically about a pharmacist who was going after the Oxycontin industry. I always forget how to say that. And how he was trying to solve his son's murder, but in the process, he's also now figuring out that there was this huge problem with Oxycontin in the early 2000s, and his kind of pursuit to help change that and to help save people from getting prescribed things they shouldn't be getting and anything. So really, The Pharmacist. I think Tony's a big fan of Tiger King. I've seen on Facebook, so I have not watched that yet, so I can't vouch for it. But for entertainment, that's what I've been doing. For kids, we've been doing more activities together, like learning activities and things like that. So we have these books that we walk through them with letters and numbers and that kind of stuff. It's kind of interesting. I also play video games too. So Warzone, Call of Duty, Fortnite, that kind of stuff. So that stuff is free if you don't use the V-Bucks, which I don't. I don't understand the whole virtual thing. Anyways, those are my frugal ideas. play video games, watch TV. No, we go for walks too. That's one of the cool things about what's happening is we've been spending a lot more family time together. So we've been doing walks daily, which we hadn't been doing before. And we've got sheep and horses and a baby lamb, bunnies, donkeys, all that kind of stuff in our neighborhood. So we walk around, we pet them, we say hi, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a frugal idea. It's like just walk in your neighborhood with your family, and it's simple but fun. Like my son loves finding ladybugs in the weeds and doing all crazy stuff. So um, Chanel loves the challenge. Thanks, Chanel. Tony, yes, I'm with Jim. What are you doing for fun? Currently in the middle of Tiger King. See, I knew it. I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah, I don't have anything good to say as far as shows yet. I'm looking. So if you have some, put them in the comments. We've got, so far the Pharmacist, Tiger King out there. Casinos are definitely closed in Maryland. Good to know. For card counters. Yeah, well, that's awesome. Colin's doing some extra content for card counters who are all bored. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what are they going to do to make money during this crazy time, right? Chanel's getting into Tiger King this weekend. Have to see what it's all about. Me too. I definitely want to. We should almost start a club. No, just kidding. Awesome. Well, I don't want to end this party unless you guys do. So, anybody else have any other questions, personal finance related? Yes, the frugal ideas is a great idea. One thing that we did do is we got a teeter totter for our kids so they could play in the backyard because they're playing outside a lot more than they used to. In fact, they're probably watching less TV now. I'm probably watching more myself, but they're watching less. Yeah. Any other questions? I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to do this again in probably a couple weeks, maybe next week if I got enough questions. And all right, looks like the stream's kind of ended on the right. So thanks again for watching. This is Deacon Hayes from Well Kept Wallet signing out. Appreciate you being here. Hope that you are continuing to stay healthy, spend more time with your family, do things that are more connecting because we need that more now than ever. And hope to do this again soon. Take care. Well, now Colin's chiming in. Okay, so this is the bonus. What's the best marketplace for freelancers, both to find quality freelancers and freelancers to sign up for? So I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but for those that missed it, Upwork is pretty much the best place that I've found. I've hired so many people off of Upwork. The cool thing is they have like a rating system like everything else where you can read, like they've got 4.5 stars out of 5 and they have 100 reviews and they've made this much money on the platform, and so you can kind of really get a sense. I will give you an example of what I like to do. Yes, bonus round. What I like to do is interview at least 3 people if I'm going to hire somebody. So because what I used to do is I'd hire like the first person because I'm like, oh, someone wants my job, I'm going to hire them, and then it didn't work out. So I'll hire 3 people, and then I'll have a sense of, oh, this person really gets it over other people. Maybe they're a little bit more money, but they're worth it. And so I definitely would say if you're looking to hire someone, interview at least 3 people. If you're looking to get hired, I would say make sure that you list as many skills as possible, right? Because it's basically a search database. So, if you know how to do Microsoft Word and you know how to do Excel and you know how to use WordPress and whatever it is, like just list as much stuff as you can, so that when people are searching, they're going to find someone that, I need someone that knows WordPress and Asana, and you show up, right? So make sure that you kind of fill out your profile as completely as possible. Yeah, I'm very excited about this. Hope that helped, Colin. Really appreciate you being around. Any other last minute bonus round questions? Do they provide outlines or the topics for writers? I'm not sure what you mean by that. So if you could clarify that, but I would say, so for me, no, if we hire writers, we provide a topic, they come back with an outline. Yeah. Okay. So that's what you're asking. Yeah. They come back with the outline and then we approve it, we modify it, and then they move forward. And the reason why we do that is it was a lot of work for us to go figure that out. And since we're already paying the writer to write the article, we want them to do the effort and go out and do the research and then come back to us and say, hey, this is what we think should be in the article. And then we can, kind of say, oh, take this out, put this in there. Okay. Now you're good to go. So that's kind of the process that we use. So checking the email one more time. Perfect. All right, I could actually do this all day, but I don't know. Uh, I probably should eat some lunch here, but I do want to do this again. This has been great, guys. Thank you, and I hope to see you again soon.